We are here at the Shul.com podcast. We are reviewing Masechet Megillah, but we're now going into the Halakha. So we're going to read from RAMBAM and from the Tur Orach Chaim. This is in Hilchot Megillah Behanukah Perek Aleph and Zemanim, Chelik Bet of Mishneh Torah RAMBAM. And let's begin. It's Halakha Dalet. Ezehu Zman Kriyata. When is the time that you could read the Megillah? Zemanim harbe tiknu la chachamim. There was a lot of times. Shne'emar bizmanehim, just like the Gemara said, bizmanehim. Okay, ve'elu hen zmane kriyata. Here are the times. Kol medina she'ayta mukefet homa. Any country, state that had walls that were from the time of Yehoshua bin Nun, Yehoshua bin Nun, ben ba'aretz ben bechutz ha'aretz. Whether it's in Israel or outside of Israel, even though today there's no wall, if it had a wall from the time of Yehoshua bin Nun, they read on the 15th of Adar, and that is, the Medina is called what they reference in the Gemara and the Mishnah as the word kerach. Okay, and any place that did not have a city with a wall around it, Mimot Yehoshua, at the time of Yehoshua. Even though today it has a wall, Korim b'Yudal, they read on the 14th, and that Medina is called a city. Okay, so I guess he interchanges the word Medina, Ir, and Medina, Krach, of whether a wall or not, but that's what he has. Let's go to Hey. Hey, he writes, Shushan Abira, the capital of Shushan, even though the city of Shushan didn't have a wall from the time of Yehoshua, Korin betetvav, they read on the 15th, Shebo haya anes. That's where the miracle actually happened. Shne'emar, v'noach b'chamisha asar bo. Okay, v'lama talu hadavar b'mei Yehoshua. What does all this have to do with the time of Yehoshua bin Nun and the Megillah? If the city of Shushan didn't have a wall from the time of Yehoshua, and we read it there, why do we determine other walled cities from Yehoshua? It seemingly has nothing to do with each other. In order to give kavod to Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because during the time of Shushan Habira and the story of Megillat Esther, it was between Bayit Rishon and Bayit Sheni, and they had destroyed a lot of the cities and the walls in Yerushalayim and in Eretz Yisrael. So in order to give kavod to Eretz Yisrael, they ended up saying that it's not from the time of Shushan where there's walls, but from the time of Yehoshua bin Nun. There were a lot more cities with walls at the time. One of the cities is like Yericho. Yericho had a wall around it. That they should read like those of Shushan. Even though today there may not be walls around those cities in Israel. If there was a wall from the time of Yehoshua, and we can verify it, then you read it there. And that's what he brings down here. Let's read also. We'll continue to Vav. But you know what's interesting on this? I almost see this like it's almost like a tikkun of giving kavod to Eretz Yisrael, because Eretz Yisrael was not like the Torah. When it came to the Torah, they said Na'aseh v'nishma. Bnei Yisrael said, we'll take it, we don't have to look at it, I love it. When it came to Eretz Yisrael, they told Moshe, what's in it? What are we getting? Can we go check it out? They went to check it out, they came back with a bad report, and they offended the land. The land's offended. And that's what. And it says, "Esh said niknet b'isurin." You want to take Israel back? The land is offended. Till today, the land is offended. The land wants to see you say, "I'll take it the way it is." And you know, the Torah has never left us. From the time that we got it, Baruch Hashem, the Torah has been with us generation after generation. But Eretz Yisrael was not. Eretz Yisrael said, "Listen, you didn't appreciate me. Leave me alone. You want to appreciate me? I'll come back. Take me the way I am." Okay, no, and that's why when I hear people today complain about Eretz Yisrael, I tell them you got to be careful what you say, because it's too hot, it's too cold, it's hard. What hard? To everyone, everything becomes hard when it's Israel. This is the Yetzer Hara that exists from the time from the time of the Midbar. They spoke so bad about the land. They said, Shuva, they want Shuva Mitzrayma. They wanted to go back. That's how silly it was. They argued that the land was not good enough for them. But you know what? Today it's becoming more and more apparent. Maybe not to everyone in the United States, but into other countries where the exile is getting harsher.
But I'm sure back then it was also people that they love Israel and they're willing to take it the way it is. Not everybody say.
Of course, and we know from the Gaon Vilna, we know how many Chachamim died on their way to go to Israel. Today it's what? It's a $1,000 ticket and you get onto Israel. I know
get
that.
A free ticket.
Yeah, Never will give you a free ticket, if you make Aliyah. Of course, listen, of course there's challenges going to Israel and people with children and being married, of course. But even if you're not going to do it, at least talk very positively about it, because it seemingly, even the Hachamim were worried. They were worried for the embarrassment of Eretz Yisrael on where to read a Megillah. And you know why I find that I tie this into Yemot HaMashiach to today, is because this Megillah that we're learning, Masechet Megillah and Hilchot Megillah, it's the only book that's going to last with us with the Chamisha Chomshei Torah, because it's Kol Sifrei HaNevi'im B'chol HaKetubim Atidim Lebatel Yemot HaMashiach Chutz Min Megillat Esther V'Chamisha Chomshei Torah. That's brought down in HaRambam. So he says that in the Yemot HaMashiach, by the way, you're only going to have 6 books. You're going to have a 6-pack with you. You're going to have, and the 6-pack, I don't mean the abs. I mean the 6-pack, you're going to have the 5 Chamisha Chomshei Torah, and you're going to have the Megillat Esther. That's it. That's all you're going to need. You're going to have that with you, and that's going to be the books that we're going to take with us to Eretz Yisrael during Yemot HaMashiach.
I was talking to someone last week, Israeli guy.
Yeah.
They asked him, why are you not going back to Israel? What you tell me? Eretz Ochelet Yoshvea.
He's repeating.
It's important how to say this thing.
It's very important. That's what the joke they always say is that if someone wants to be, how does someone become a millionaire in Israel? He goes in as a billionaire, and he becomes. Yeah, look, you can't say those things. It's the complete opposite, and that there's an assumption. Okay, there is bureaucracy, red tape. It might be a system that it's different than the way we're used to.
No, it's a difference between the government and the Israel, the land. You need to divide it. You need to. This is. You can talk about the government, the Mushhatim, the Navim, Rasha'im, but you can't talk about the land of Israel.
The land, very good. I like how you said that, because you're Israeli. My father lived in Israel for like 10 years. He wasn't born there, but most of my father's family stayed in Israel. Only a couple of siblings came to America. The rest stayed in Israel. And that's right. You have to divide it. The land is the land. Leave aside. Don't connect the land to the people that are above the land. That's or the people managing the land now. And in short, in regards to anyone who has any comments on the people that are ruling the land or that are part of the government, leave all that. And I don't have any comment on it.
Like
but
taking the few group of Haredim and you
or whatever they are. Yeah, we don't do that. But what's even more interesting is that anyone who really says that, I really tell them, do you mind reading the Nevi'im for me? Read the Nevi'im, read Shoftim, read Yehoshua, read Shmuel, Aleph, Bet, read the Melachim, and if you see, you'll look that there were many kings and governments in Israel from the time of the prophets that were Avdei Avodah Zarah. They did tremendous amount of avonot, and it wasn't perfect back then, but they didn't abandon the land because of that. So we can see from there that if you could see from the time of Nevi'im, that even when it wasn't perfect, they said, listen, this is our land, what are we supposed to do? Times are times, and it is what it is. But we have to have a respect for the land, and this is going to be key. Today everyone is sitting comfortable.
What are you saying now? If we look at them, they were Sha'im, and they still didn't want to give up the land. They didn't want, and this is, what, with all the bad thing that they did, this is one good thing that they did, that we need to take the good thing from what they did. Because they didn't give up. They didn't say, okay, let me go out of Israel. I'm gonna go to Europe, some country, or come to Miami, and I'm gonna have a good life and nice people and forget about the land and
100%. And you know what? The only reason why we even talk this way, the only reason why anyone even has an ounce of energy to say such a stupid thing, like this, let's go outside and do it, is only because we have, Baruch Hashem, freedoms today. But don't go so far. What, 300-400 years ago? That didn't exist. I think from the year 1000 to the year 1600, the Jews were thrown out of I don't know how many countries: France, England, Spain, Portugal, and many other countries. And that's what it was. Their answer was always, can we go to Israel? That was where they wanted. Even those that during the Holocaust, when they tried to run away, they wanted to go to Israel. There wasn't an opportunity. Today we have the opportunity. Everyone's okay. Now that we have the option, all right, let me think about it. And of course, this Parnasah, Baruch Hashem, in America, it's Malchut Shel Chesed. It's a government that's comfortable for us. They support us to learn Torah, to do the things. But we have to remember where our heart has to be, because we're going to need that land. We're going to need it. And if there's anything that Jewish history has proven to us, is that be careful. Because Eretz Yisrael is the only place for Am Yisrael. It's only been the place for Am Yisrael, and it works best when you take the Torah that we accepted with love, and you match it along with the land that we'll accept with love. And that's going to be like Rabbi Mansour would say. He would say it's like the sun and the moon. That's why Yehoshua is like the Yareach, and Moshe was like the sun. Why? The Torah is Torah Moshe. We accepted it like the sun. We took it. But when it came to the land, Yareach, Yehoshua, I don't know. When it came to the Hachamim that are like Yehoshua, they became questions on Hachamim, questions on the land. The acceptance is when you accept the land and you accept the Hachamim and you align that with the Torah. It is like in Tetris, the pieces falling right into the place. It matches perfectly, and this is going to allow the Jewish people to have the most success. And we're seeing it in our time. It's not coincidence that we've seen like Rabbi Beryl Wein, the Kollel movement, since the 1970s, the 80s, 90s. This didn't exist before, where people sat down and learned Kollel Boker, Yeshivot, Zemanim. What happened? Why is this happening? Rabbi Beryl Wein says, if you look at the course of history, that we're now going to Yemot HaMashiach, and Yediahu Navi Zachor Tov is going to appear and bring the Mashiach.
You know something.
We need to know. He's going to come and tell you, okay, guys, we have to do Kimitza. Guys, okay, you need to bring the Korbanot. What Korbanot? What is that? So suddenly, I don't think anyone's experts in the field, but at least he's going to come along and say, listen, I'll tell you, we know the gist of what he's going to be talking about. And so we have a little bit more understanding. He'll tell you Tum'ah, Tahara, he's going to give you all the details, but we're going to be more in line with it. So I think this is important. It's Ikar, and we see it. We see RAMBAM, how much he loved Am Yisrael, he loved Klal Yisrael. Let's look at the Ora Hayim, Tafresh, Pei Chet, Tarpach.
The RAMBAM, he was in Egypt.
He was in Cordoba, Spain. He ran away to Morocco, then he ran away through northern Africa. He ended up in Egypt. He went originally, I think, to Eretz Yisrael.
He went to Eretz Yisrael.
And then there was a famine or something. He ended up having to go back to Egypt. I'm telling you this all from what I remember, not from the Sefer. And then he died. They put him on the Hamor. And they said wherever the Hamor is going to stop, that's where they buried him. That was in Tveria. So, interesting. Okay, let's look at Siman Tarpach. This is in the Ora Hayim Kadosh. This is the Ora Hayim in the Tur. We're mentioning Ora Hayim HaKadosh. Yeah, I found a great Hidush on the Ora Hayim. I was telling this to someone the other day. He told me he's a descendant of the Ora Hayim HaKadosh. I said, which one? He said, the Ora Hayim HaKadosh. I said, which one? He said, Rabbeinu Hayim ben Attar. He said, yeah. I said, I don't think you're a descendant from Rabbeinu Hayim ben Attar. He tells me, why? I said, because he had no boys. He had 2 wives. The first wife, he didn't have children. The second wife, he only had daughters. So what do you mean? According to all the history books I saw, he didn't have any sons. I said, you probably descend from Rabbeinu Hayim ben Attar Hazaken, because Rabbeinu Hayim ben Attar had a grandfather who was also a tremendous Hamid Hacham. He was called Rabbeinu Hayim ben Attar Hazaken. He had many boys. And so I said, you probably descend from him. I said, but from the Ora Hayim HaKadosh, from what I found, he only had daughters, not sons. So someone's saying, unless his son-in-laws took his name, Ben Attar. It's possible. It has happened in times where the son-in-laws took the name of the father, and it could have been before the surnames and last names were given. So it's possible. All right, we went into that because we mentioned Ora Hayim HaKadosh. So let's look at the Siman Tarpach in the Ora Hayim. It's on the side. If you look on the side of the Gemara and En Mishpat Ner Mitzvah, here come. If you want to come here, we'll see it right here. Okay, so it says Aleph that we're reading right here in the Tur, and then we're going to go to the Beit Yosef. Okay. Here's the Tur in the center, and then the Beit Yosef. Okay, Megillah nikret b'yud aleph, b'yud bet, b'yud gimel, b'yud dalet, b'tetvav. So right away, he begins and tells you can read it on any of those 5 days, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Va'idna, ena nikret ela b'yud dalet. And in our time, we read it only yud dalet. Ela she'akirachim mukafim muchammam b'yimot Yehoshua ben Nun, korim b'tetvav. But places that have walls, they read from tetvav. Afilu im hem bechutza la'aretz. Okay. So he says, even if they're outside of Israel, they also read on that time. Okay, let's look at the Beit Yosef over here. Megillah nikret be'achad asar b'shneim asar. Mishnah Beresh Megillah. In the beginning of Megillah, Bet Amud Aleph. Megillah nikret be'achad asar b'shneim asar b'shosha asar b'arba asar b'chamisha asar lo pachot velo yoter. Not from 11 to 15, not more, less. Kerakim hamukafin chuma mimot Yehoshua ben Nun korim b'chamisha asar kefarim v'ayarot gedolot korim b'arba asar. Okay, walled cities 15, big cities 14. Ela shekafrim maktim leyom ha'kenisa. That the villages do, they go earlier to the Monday and Thursdays. Uperesh Rashi ela she'akefarim maktimim leyom ha'kenisa. And Rashi told us that the Kefarim, they're the ones who did it earlier on the Yom HaKenisa. Kiloman me'achar she'amukafim korim b'chamisha asar she'en mukafim korim be'arba asar. A walled city doesn't read in the 14. Hakol bichlal tu hechi mishkachat echad asar shneim asar shlosha asar ela she'kefrim natnu lehem chachamim reshut le'ekdim kriyata Yom HaKenisa Yom Sheni b'Shabbat שלפני 14 או חמישי בשבת שהוא יום הכניסה שהכפרים מתכנסים לעיירות למשפט. Those on the Mondays and Thursdays were the days where they went in to go to the Beit Dins that were open on those days. Why? Because the Beit Din wasn't opened on Friday. So I guess it was Monday and Thursdays that they came in. לפי שבתי דינים יושבים בעיירות, they were in the cities בשני ובחמישי כתקנת עזרא. That was a takana of Ezra Sofer, and that's brought down in Baba Kama Pei Bet Amud Aleph. We can look into that to see what was the takanot of Ezra that he did, all of them. Usually the villagers, they're not so good in reading. Someone from the city needs to read for them. And Hachamim didn't want to make it hard for the villagers to go. Sometimes the Yom HaKenisa is 11, 12, or 13. And so those are the times. Okay, so that is the Beit Yosef. Let's look here in the next one. And in our times, Idna is time. How do you know Idna is time? In Arabic, the word Eid is a holiday, it's Hajj. So the Idna, Baha'idna, it's interesting because Aramit, Hebrew, Arabic, they have a lot of interest, tying words. They're all Semitic languages. I was also reading the other day, by the way, that Adam Harishon spoke in Aramit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was reading it. We're going to be doing a part on Adam Harishon this week, all about Adam Harishon. I pulled up a lot of interesting stuff. One of them was that he spoke Aramit. I'm sure it said he spoke all the 70 languages. He spoke Lashon HaKodesh, all 70, even the languages that didn't yet come around. But his main...
Who do you speak to?
The Malachim, his wife, God, his children, his grandchildren. He had many children. He didn't only have Cain, Hevel, and Shet. The Chachamim bring down from the Mefarshim that he had many, many children afterwards. Just not... The Torah doesn't list for you everything. The Torah gives you...
He spoke the most?
Yeah, it seems that Aramit is a very holy language. It's a very holy language. The way that we write Aramit today is what they call like transliterated. It's kind of like writing, for example, Arabic in English letters. What we did is Aramit is not a language that was originally written in Hebrew. There was another type of writing for the Aramit, different. I don't know. I don't know. It could have been like an Arabic type of. It was a different form of writing. We write it in Hebrew letters, the language, but the I mean, there were a lot of different Hebrew texts in handwritings over the course of generations. We know that there was Ktab Ivri, Ktab Ashuri, and there were also other ones that they wrote that were not official, meaning they kept the official writings in certain writings, and then the non-official, kind of like we have today, script, Okay. והעידנא אינה נקראת אלא ב14 אלא שהקרקים המוקפים חומה מימות יהושע בן נון קוראים ב15. שם על משנה זו אמר רבא בר חנא אמר רבי יוחנן זו דברי רבי עקיבא סתימתאה אבל חכמים אומרים the rabbi said בזמן הזה in our time הואילו מסתכלים בה אין קוראים אותה אלא בזמנה today we only read it in time בפרש רש"י דיבור המתחיל אבל הכל סופין למקרא מקרא מגילה ואומרים יום 14 באדר קרינן ומגילה נשארו לאדר 15 יום ו15 של ניסן עושים פסח ואם תקדים קריאתה יעשו פסח לסוף 30 יום של קריאה ומסו אוכלים חמץ בימים האחרונים של פסח. So he says the problem was if they ended up starting earlier and they didn't have the years organized properly or they were not Yisrael Shorin al Admatan, then they might end up starting Pesach earlier, which might be an issue, but the bigger issue was ending Pesach earlier and eating chametz. B'harif, okay, Rabbeinu Alfasi tells us Perish ho'ilu mistakelim ba kilomar ho'il ve'enehem shel aniyim nisuot lamikra Megillah. The eyes of the poor people were looking towards the Mikra Megillah kedei lechalek lahem ma'ot, so that people would give them coins. Remember we mentioned today ma'ot. You saw how we mentioned. You weren't here. We gave a beautiful sigula today of how a person can remove a gezerah from the shamayim on mavet on him. How does he remove a gezerah of mavet from him? Is how? Okay, so you said tzedakah. So that's one. Tzedakah tatzil mavet is a ma'amar from the Nevi'im, or Ketubim. I think it's from Mishleh. Tzedakah tatzil mavet. But he gave another one that we gave it, that it said, if a person has shemirat einayim, he protects his ayin. If there's a gezerah of mavet, they take the ayin that he was shomer, meaning how is he shomer einayim? By closing his eyes. So the ayin is the eye. He closed it. So if they have a gezerah of mavet and he protects his eye, they take the ayin and they put it in the word mavet and they make it ma'ot. So if a person had a gezerah of mavet and he has shemirat einayim, they end up saving him and they end up making him rich. They take the ayin, they put it into mavet, and you get, instead of mavet, you get ma'ot. And you get that word. So here, it's interesting, I told you, the Rugged Shavar always says that when you're learning Torah in a systematic way, you're going to see connections. And here we see the connection from the first thing that we learned today of the mavet, ma'ot, shemirat enayim, the ayin. And here, now the ma'ot comes up again from the aniyim. They look on Purim, alehem, they're looking for the ma'ot. מעות פרים אין קוראים אותה אלא בזמנה ויש שגורסים הועיל ומסתכנין בה it says here ומסתכין מסתכלין בה כלומר באותה העת שהיו ישראל מעמידים דתיהם ואינם באים לידי סכנה היו קוראים אותה ב11 ב12 ב13 אבל בזמן הזה שמסתכנין ישראל בדתיהם מסתכנין he says actually אין קוראים אותה אלא בזמנה שהוא 14 ו-15 נראה שזו הייתה גרסתו של הרמב"ם הלכות מגילה which we read שכתב במה דברים אמורים שמקדימים קוראים ביום הכניסה בזמן שיש ישראל מלכות so according to Harambam he says that the only time that you're going to read earlier than 14 and 15 is when we have the kingdom back in Israel almost soon אבל בזמן הזה, in our time, אין קוראים אותה אלא בזמנה, today we only read 14 and 15, שהוא יום 14, יום 15, בני כפרים ובני עיירות קוראים ב-14 ובני כרכים קוראים בט"ו. Okay, so that is the Bet Yosef, we did the Shulchan Aruch, we did Harambam, and then he also brought down to read from the Smag, which tomorrow we'll read that as well, because the Mikra Megillah is not one of the 613 mitzvot, it's one of the 7. So tomorrow we'll read what are the 7 mitzvot derabanan that came in, along with a few of the other things on Megillah. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen v'amen.